Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to What the Pause. This is your host, Amalia Cartsonas. And I know, guys, it has been a while since my last podcast, and a lot has happened since then. So, my last podcast, I told you about my last 4 weeks in menopause. This is where I was telling you about how I was feeling, how things were starting to look up, but I was going through a hell of a lot of personal stuff as well. So now I'm going to give you an update on my first 4 weeks in post menopause. So this is very, very exciting. I can't believe it's finally here at 54 years old. So ladies, if you are in your mid 50s and you're still getting cycles, don't worry, because they say they'll ask you if you're pregnant, if you're going for any kind of imaging until you're the age of 56 here in Canada anyway. So I found that very interesting. And now having no periods at the age of 54 and a half is just incredible, considering I've been waiting a long time and this 10 years of hell is finally kind of over, I want to say. But this particular episode is going to be a little bit of a personal check-in. And I want to let you know what the first 4 weeks has actually felt like, because I completely thought there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And I know 1 month isn't a very long time. And obviously, I'm not going to suggest that everything suddenly changes the moment you hit 12 months without a period. But I did notice a shift in myself over the past few weeks. And it's been a really positive one, which I really didn't think it was, because last month I was, if you were listening to that, and if you haven't, I really suggest you go back, because it's amazing what a month difference can make. Also with circumstances and timing and luck. It has been a long process for those who have been following me, and thank you so much for still, listening on the podcast. Perimenopause started for me 10 years ago. Like many women, I went through periods of wondering what the hell was happening to my body. I couldn't sleep. I had no energy. I developed a belly. My moods were all over the place. And there were times where not just sometimes, maybe all the time, where I really didn't feel like myself. I didn't want to socialize. Sometimes I couldn't even be bothered with my teenage daughters who are driving me bonkers, right? There's no tolerance. I had no tolerance for anything, because I was just bombarded in the last 10 years with just life and perimenopause. But when you get into the later stages of perimenopause, where your cycle becomes completely unpredictable, right? You don't know if you're going to get a period next month, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or just when you think you're finally approaching that 12-month finish line, and then maybe you have to restart counting. Yes, that happened to me twice, ladies. So let me give you an example. Back in, I would say, 2024, I had no period for like 4 months. And all of a sudden, bam, I had to start at day one. Is that really fair? It happened to me again the following year. Boom, I had to start again. But luckily, in mid-July of last year, I then hit the 1 year mark. No, nothing. So post-menopause, folks, is when you do not have a period for 12 consecutive months. Okay. And it's really important, because some people say, well, when do I restart? Because sometimes I spot. Yeah, spotting can happen because what's happening to your hormones, especially your estrogen, if you're doing a little tweak in your HRT, if you're changing a medication, sometimes you may get spotting. That's perfectly normal. It's when you have a full period, when it's, oh, darn, I got to start over again at day one. Now, if you're having bleeding post-meno, like a year from that, or if, say, for example, I had bleeding a year from now, though post-meno, that would be concern for me to go see the doctor right away, because that's nothing to do with hormones. This is more to do with something a little bit more worse. Okay. So anytime you get that bleeding after post-menopause, that's not spotting, bleeding. That's where you have to be concerned and get that checked out. Okay. But I was going on, a different tangent here. So Finally, when I reached 12 months without a period, there was definitely what I felt a sense of accomplishment. I know that sounds funny because like I didn't actually do anything to make it happen. But when I've spent so much time and years waiting for my body to move through this transition, when I reached that point, I felt like on top of the world. And now 1 month beyond it. What has really surprised me the most is I don't feel sad about it. I actually feel incredibly free. I really don't miss my period. Really? Like, who does? Like, who doesn't miss their period? It's crazy because I know some women experience real grief when their periods stop. And I understand why. It represents the end of fertility. And some women, they carry a lot of emotion with that. But that hasn't really been my experience. And I'm perfectly happy to never have another period again. But when I think about how much women's lives revolve around menstruation, it's actually incredible. We start worrying about periods when we're teenagers. Then we're worried about whether they're regular, whether they're late, whether we're pregnant, whether we're trying to become pregnant, whether we're trying not to be pregnant. We have babies, our cycles change again. And eventually we end up in perimenopause where absolutely nothing seems predictable anymore. So by the time I reached the end of that process, I was like, bye-bye. See ya, never. That's why I felt there's something really liberating about knowing that I no longer have to think about when my period is coming. I could wear white pants. I could wear a bikini, well, bathing suit, anytime I want without having to worry about a gush. And I'm so glad about that. And I didn't have to restart the clock, right? So I don't have to do that all over again because that part of my life is finished. And I am so okay with that. In fact, I think it's one of those positive things about menopause that we really don't talk about enough. So much of the conversation focuses on symptoms and everything that's supposedly going to go wrong, that we rarely talk about some of the things that actually feel freeing. And for me, that was definitely one of them, is not having to worry about my period. See ya. I may be in post-menopause, but I am still taking my HRT, ladies, okay? What I want to talk about is still hasn't changed my feelings about hormone therapy. I am still taking it, and they're going to have to pry it from my dead cold hands if they want me to stop. Because there can sometimes be this misconception that HRT is something women use to get through perimenopause, and then once they become post-menopausal, the doctors tell them to stop. No, nuh-uh, niente. It's ridiculous how that is what doctors are saying. Luckily, we have some smarter doctors, younger doctors. Doctors are coming in from parts of the world. I know I have a new doctor from the UK who specializes in hormone health. She's in a little medical center here in Kitchener, Ontario, and I am so blessed to be now working with her. Because my last doctor that I've been working with for the last 15 years, let's just say, if I'm having, to go to the hospital for almost committing suicide in the 15 years and the twice that's happened to me under her supervision, then you can possibly guess why I moved to a new doctor. So it's very, very important though, folks, that I'm continuing to take it. All right. But obviously HRT is an individual medical decision. I'm talking about my own experience here. I'm not telling anybody what they should do. But I think women need to be able to have much more informed conversations with their doctors about what comes next after menopause. One of the biggest things I've learned from this entire experience is how important self-advocacy is. And I speak to this in all of my podcasts, all of my recordings about how it's important to speak up. Do not, as Gen Xers, we were told to always follow authority, always believe every shitty thing that comes out of their mouths. Well, you know what? We Gen X women are way too freaking smart. Smarter than the men, smarter than the boomer men. That's for goddamn sure in terms of that. So no man is going to tell me what to do in terms of my HRT. Or tell me what to do in terms of my body after post-menopause. Or tell me anyone what to do with their body. That's it. Period. Stop. Okay? Pun intended. I've become much more comfortable asking questions and speaking up about my own health. And that's something definitely menopause has definitely taught me, along with my podcast and research well before that, and helping my own mother out with her perimenopause journey. She's 74. She is feeling a little bit of, the wears and tears of bones and joints, but I'm trying to get her on HRT at 74 years old. It's never too late. And I'll talk about that at a later podcast episode. But let's go back to here. Because what's really surprising to me, for me personally, is that I feel motivated again. Last month, I was going through hell and back with my personal life, my career loss, a court case being lost, everything. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I was talking about that on my last post. But now it's like a brand new world has opened up. I feel a lot more inspired to go out there and make a difference again. Although I'm not teaching or a professor at the moment, I do have a new job, which I will talk about later. But the motivation just came out of nowhere, particularly when it came to my exercise. Now, I've been active most of my life. I've been a dancer for 4 decades. I've taught fitness for 3 decades. And exercise and movement was always something that I just naturally part of who I am. But for the last 8 months, I've not been consistent at all. If anything, I've been just really punishing my body, not eating well. I don't drink that much at all, maybe once or twice a month. And that's maybe 1 or 2 drinks, but that, whatever. Do I like my cannabis? Abso-freaking-lutely, because that's what I need to go to sleep. I still do in post-meno, but nonetheless. It's funny because there were times where I didn't feel so motivated, like I just said. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't need a coach or a therapist or whatever to get me through it. I've been doing it for so long. I know exactly what to do. But there were times when I felt tired and frustrated with my body, especially, if you are 40 years old, 45 years old, don't let me scare you, but ladies, you are going to get a menopause belly. You are going to get the menopause apron. Be it genetics, my mother got it, my mother had it. I really don't have a waist when I was a kid, and now it's even worse, but I'm going to start doing something about it. That's the difference now, okay? So I'm exercising now, and I'm giving myself, so I started exercising in July, weight training, and then doing elliptical, and 4 days a week. I'm giving myself until December to see where my body is in terms of, is it going the way I want it to go? Are the muscles building more so? Is the abdominal apron, menopause apron, going to go away? And if it doesn't go away, or if I like what I see, but if I do have some trouble spots where I know exercise cannot do anything about loose skin, folks, okay? I'm going to get my tummy tuck next year. And I'm saying this right now, everybody listening to me, and I'm also going to be documenting it, because why should me at 54 years old have to live for other people? It's time for me. It's time for us. It's time that we get to do whatever the fuck we want with our bodies. And if we have the money, and if we don't have the money, I don't give a shit. Life is too short. You want to look good. You want to feel good. Do not feel guilty about the money, because let me tell you, I know women whose ex-husbands would drop 50 grand on a car, no issues, no problems, and she had no say about it. So ladies, you get that 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is in your area to get that tummy tuck done. Do it. Life is too short, and who gives a shit what people in your family think? Okay? All right. I digress. At 54, I don't want to look at my body and say, I want to be 30 again. Absolutely not. And even in my 40s, my weight was distributed differently, because I had my children at 38 and 40. So can you imagine that, wow, I should look worse. But actually, I look pretty darn good. But still, there are some areas I want to improve. But that doesn't mean I've given up on wanting to look good or wanting to lose some weight. Of course, I still care about those things. But I'm not going to pretend I suddenly become completely elated and never look at the scale or never get frustrated with my stomach, because I do on a daily basis. And I only went on the scale once because I just wanted to gauge where my baseline was. And then what I'm going to do is starting to do measurements, which I started a month ago, and I have my new readings coming up very soon. So I rather do that than stepping on the scale, because as we know, or maybe you don't, muscle is heavier than fat. 5 pounds of muscle looks very different and compact than 5 pounds of fat, which is more gluttonous is the word, maybe. You just look pudgy, where the muscle, a 5-pound muscle, looks tight. So do your research into that, because it's so much more important now than ever to get stronger. And that's exactly what I am doing. I want to maintain and build my muscle. I also need my healthy bones. Ladies, estrogen is going to plummet in post-menopause. So we need to complement our treatments with weight training, balance training, mobility, because you want more mobility when you're older. You want energy. And I want to be in my 60s, 70s, and 80s still feeling physically capable. And that's becoming much more motivating to me than simply trying to make that number on the scale look smaller. I joined a new gym, and it was a really nice change because I didn't know anybody, and I don't care to. I'm not a social person in the gym. I was when I was a fitness instructor, absolutely, but now it's time for me. And it's nice to see people of my age there too. And there's some really nice, handsome men that also train there as well. So if you're in the KW area and you want to go to Gym 41, please do. Highly recommend it. And it has all the machines I need without any kind of fear factor. You're not going to get harassed or bugged. Let's just say that. Because, I want to improve myself always. You don't just want to give up like my mother's generation did. Said, oh, well, I post-menopause, I put on 40 pounds. I couldn't get HRT because I was told I'd get cancer, and now I'm going to live my life unhealthy, right? No, our generation is not going to be doing that just because you've reached menopause. No. You're going to start now realizing how free you will feel and how motivating and inspiring that you can be. So, what else happened during this first month is I started a new job at the age of 50 freaking 4. And I thought I was never going to work full time again and never teach again. Well, it happened. I started a brand new job on Monday last week, and the timing of that hasn't been lost on me, because here I am officially entering post-menopause, which society often portrays as the beginning of women becoming older, less relevant, less valuable, and almost exactly the same moment I'm stepping into a completely new professional opportunity. And I hope you think that's amazing, because I certainly do. I'm learning new things. I love meeting new people. I'm figuring out brand new systems, but I'm using everything that I've learned in my career. And I love being challenged again. And I really love that feeling. I cannot wait to talk to my customers. I cannot wait to talk about EdTech. So what I'm doing, my new position is a customer success consultant at a publishing company, where it's the merging of my two loves, education and technology, into what we call EdTech. And I will be covering the Western Canada territory to ensure that those tools that they're using in the schools are effective, are being engaged by students, that faculty are using it properly, and to become more effective in teaching and effective in their course outlines, and whatever the case may be. Okay, so there you go. That's pretty much what I'll be doing. I'm on the onboarding stage right now. But there's so much conversation about women in midlife as though our most productive or interesting years are behind us. And I think that's one of the most damaging messages we receive. At 54, I have a huge amount of experience that I didn't have 20 years ago. I've taught, I've had my own business, I've worked in technology, I've worked in webcasting where I was the only woman in the room. I've raised two beautiful children. I've started my own business. I've created this podcast. I'm a menopause coach. I've had career changes and disappointments and opportunities that I didn't expect. And all of those experiences come with me into this next chapter. I'm not starting from zero just because I'm starting something new. I'm starting with decades of experience behind me. And I think women need to hear that because career changes in your 50s can feel intimidating. Yes, we all know that. You can find yourself wondering whether companies want somebody your age. And are you going to fit into their environment? Are you cool enough? Please. I'm not interested in startups. I'm interested in companies that actually will take care of their employees, especially in midlife. I actually think starting something new right now has helped me reinforce this idea that my life is not winding down at all. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's evolving. I think I've changed more than I realize. Because when I look back at who I was 10 years ago compared to who I am now, yeah, there are physical differences. I have some wrinkles. I have the menopause apron. But what I think is the changes that actually happen inside me. I know exactly what I want out of life. I'm much more clear about what matters to me and what I will not tolerate. Maybe it's the post-menopause, maybe it's age or life experience. I'm sure it's everything combined. But I'm much less interested now in spending energy on things that don't deserve it. That means, I'm also reevaluating my relationship at the moment. And because I don't know what to do. And I have to make it whether we're going to continue with it. It's going to hit 9 years soon. The progress has been made on my side, but not necessarily on his. But that's something I have to really think about. I care very deeply about my girls. My oldest is still not back yet, but she will be, and I know she will be. My work, my health, the people I love, my podcast, my business, and the things I'm trying to build, I am passionate about and I care very deeply to become successful in. But I don't give a shit about worrying about whether everybody approves of the way I'm living my life. Oh, she shouldn't be wearing a two-piece. Oh my gosh, she's getting a tummy tuck. With what money? Oh my gosh, she doesn't have a husband. How's she going to survive? How's she going to depend on herself? How is she going to support her kids? Holy crap, people. Worry about yourselves. I've got my stuff, my shit together. Thank you so much. But ladies, you know that we spend years trying to keep everyone happy. And then we become the people who remember everything, organize everything, look after everyone, and put ourselves first near the bottom of the list. And I refuse to be that person now in post-meno. Okay? I think now about what do I want my life to look like in this chapter. Do not input your husband, spouse, partner, just you. Okay? So if anybody out there with the name of Samantha, I'm talking to you, girl, make that time for you. Do not care about what the future looks like for others, just you. What do you want your work life to look like? How do you want to spend your time? Who are the people you want around you? What does your health want to look like? And what do you want to experience? Because I know I'm thinking about those questions more seriously now. I'm going to take What the Pause, my business, my podcast to a new level, an echelon in where I'm going to tap into menopause societies around the world, but also creating courses for menopause awareness and leadership. Because that's where I know I'm going to drive my next success. And I'm not going to feel guilty for doing anything that's going to be good for me. Because I'm not going to go backwards. I don't want to become the woman I was at 35 again. I love her metabolism though, okay? But nope, that mindset back then, absolutely not. I worried way about what people thought about me. I questioned myself more. I never really trusted my judgment, especially when it came to men, or let's say man children that I dated, even my ex-husband, the narcissist. But again, now at this age, I lived enough life to know that very few things happen exactly the way we expect them to. So we're going to have to evolve and go with the changes. We have to keep moving because jobs change. So do relationships. Our children grow up. Our friendships change. You may be hanging out with much younger people. I know I am. And also with, older guys, older people. And who cares? Our bodies change too, guys. But somehow we got to keep moving. And that gives you perspective. I'm also much more confident now. And I'm setting better boundaries with people like my sister, who I still don't talk to, my brother-in-law, who now my mother is like, has no relationship with because she's pissed. You don't piss off a Greek mama, okay? But what I want to end up on this note is postmenopause isn't the end of anything, because postmenopause can represent decades of their lives, right? I'm only 54. But like my grandmother, and also my mother's line, all of the great, grandmothers, great grandmothers in my mother's line lived past the age of 95. My grandmother is 99. She'll be 100 years old next year. So we can possibly live for another 30 or 40 years. Okay. That's a huge portion of life. So what do I want to do in that last 30 or 40 years? And it's not going to be wasted on a man who has given up. It's not going to be wasted on worrying about what other people think. It's not going to be wasted upon, I feel guilty because I'm going to spend my own hard-earned fucking money that I've been earning for decades. All right? I've learned that I have to take care of myself in a way that I didn't prioritize when I was younger. And I've learned that menopause isn't purely a story about loss. That's something I wish we talked about more often, about the symptoms, about the estrogen, about better health care. And that's why we Gen Xers are screaming about, why the hell did we not know this when we started Peri 10 years ago? And now my millennial sisters are now experiencing it. And thank God for people like us, they are now better educated and they can advocate for themselves better. So I'm still going to be working on me. And I cannot wait to get on video again, show you, how I look like now, and see if you notice a difference in my demeanor, in my facial reactions, or whatever the case may be. But I'm really hoping that you enjoyed this, first 4 weeks report of post-menopause. I am still learning. This is new to me, and I'm speaking to all of my post-menopausal friends about their experiences. And I will have my guests appear on my podcast in the next couple of weeks, folks. I have some really great guests to talk about their post-menopause journey and their perimenopause journey. So what I want you to know is that there is the light at the end of the tunnel, like I said before. I am gaining energy, motivation, and perspective at a very strong sense that there's still a shit ton of life ahead of me. All right. At 54, with a new job, a business I'm continuing to build, a podcast, which I love doing, and absolutely no more periods to worry about, I am stoked to see what happens next. So to my lovely listeners, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, be well, be safe, and embrace the pause.